Welcome! I am about to play a brand new title sequence and show you how I built it and brought it into this show with CueCam Presenter, and hopefully you're hearing stuff because I am not hearing it very loud. Let's have a look. It's not working, is it? It's not. Oh, you're getting it, okay. This is Squares TV App Lab number 58, where I show you how to tie together your Mac, iPhone and iPad with all the apps I've been making and talking about via Squares TV, and hopefully that went well. My monitoring was a bit funny, so I couldn't hear the music and I couldn't hear the stuff. But it's because I'm mucking about with a wireless earphone and stuff. So that was, I mean, it's not an incredible title sequence, but I think you can sort of get an idea of what we're talking about on this. And I've just felt like a bit of a supercut of all of the apps and everything that we've been working on all this time. But we'll start with some updates. So the first one is I had a bit of an issue. Someone was, this is the first time I've heard of someone doing this, but I added into Shoot Studio, which is the web-based remote control for Shoot. It does have a little teleprompter text field, and I thought, you know, you're paying your 20 quid a year, I might as well give you a bit of teleprompter stuff. And I found that someone was using it by typing stuff into that teleprompter to come through to Shoot, but it kept like popping up the beat sheet. Oh, you've got to install beat sheet to do this, and I just fixed that bug today. So hopefully that experience is going to be better. And I'm thinking about, it has been a little while since I've updated Shoot, and I could do with something exciting there, and there has been this idea of Shoot Studio kind of being able to bring in backgrounds, doing proper chroma key, doing all that kind of stuff on device and just bring it onto your computer. Stuff I'm thinking about. It's making me look at that interface again and think, I could probably throw a few more things in here, but not anytime soon because we've got many other things to work on. CueCam, a really small thing, but I think a good quality of life thing, and this isn't in the build, this isn't released yet, but this is just something that I did, is now when you share a desktop, it's going to remember how you had it cropped. And also just little stuff like the CueCam teleprompter kept like popping up the window again, and I noticed that I'd done something stupid, so I'm just trying to make things feel a bit more stable while I do the slightly bigger projects. And you'll see also I have a nice backdrop. I ordered this, I've been wanting to get like a grey background to shine my lights on for ages, and I was looking at those ones that you pick up, but I actually got this, I've got the website up, so I can just show you this. So it's just this thing. It's quite cool because it's got one side is grey and the other side is green. And it's actually a lot bigger than it looks on the website. So it's 2 meters by 1.5 meters. So I've just got it sort of standing against my back wall, and that's allowing me to kind of get back to this nice sort of rich color, and you know, and be able to sort of change those colors a bit more vibrantly than when it's against that white wall, which always kind of sucks a bit. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the outcome of last week's exploration. So the more I looked at, so I realized I've been, wait, let's end the screen share. I have been, you know, I think it highlighted that there's 2 models for editing the content. One is like I have, you know, I have a title text box. Sorry, let me keep that in. You know, I have a title here with my title, and I have my sort of like bullet point, and I'm sort of like dragging these around, and I think the reason that puts me on edge is that it's kind of an anti-pattern when it comes to any sort of software development. Just if I build software that relies on something having a certain XY coordinate, then as soon as I change the screen size, or as soon as it's on a different device, as soon as it's like someone changes the window size, the layout completely breaks. And this is how I used to live in the days of Flash. I'd have to be sort of measuring the bounds, but centering things. But it does really, you really do find yourself having to separate the content from the presentation. And that's why, and I think that's why I'm so drawn to these sort of like markdown things where you're editing and then you just sort of have your preview like that. But as you're editing the code, you're sort of seeing the changes appear here. And I think that's actually a much nicer model. But like, why is it important for something like CueCam? Well, I'll tell you the real killer reason to sort of, instead of having, editing these text fields like this, being able to just sort of like mark up the code. There's a couple of reasons. One is, if I can just take the title and the bullet points, I can lay them out like this, but then once I bring in vertical mode, I can sort of restructure that layout with the same content. And now you get sort of two different layouts for the price of one, or like a square. And now we can start to have these responsive adaptive layouts for different platforms. So if I start wanting to use CueCam to create TikToks, then I can start doing that, but I don't have to like update all my content. I can record a 16:9 version. I can record a 9:16 version without having to change anything. But I think, having looked at that, because I was kind of falling between two stools with this, I didn't have very good previewing, and I also didn't have any, the kind of like WYSIWYG wasn't there either. And I've just decided I kind of want to go towards content editing and getting a decent live preview of that. And I've made a lot of progress on that. So what am I going to show you? The other thing I was thinking about was, we have these cards and they have a bit of text on them. And I was thinking, oh, well, maybe it would be less confusing if we had like, here's my teleprompter text, and then like, here's my like markdown that is what's going to be my titles and graphics. And I actually sort of built a version of this, but then I realized, actually, like, if I've got some bullet points and some speaker notes, and then I've got the stuff that's going on the screen, I think it actually makes a lot of sense to, if I'm typing the title in here and then I'm typing it in two places, now I'm putting the same text into the markdown for the titles and into my notes. Isn't it better if it kind of is better if they're interleaved, and as long as we have a good way of differentiating the two. I hope I'm not, I hope this isn't completely unclear, but if I can be like, these are my speaker notes, this is going to go to the title, and then here's some more speaker notes, and then like, here's a bullet point. That's really cool, because I can put the whole thing into the teleprompter, but I can really clearly see which stuff is going to come through onto the slide. And I think that, again, like I did a load of development work over the week, over the last few days, to try and separate them out. And I thought, it'd be much more logical if the slide was a slide and it was separate from the text of the card. But I kind of ended up coming back round. So these are sort of intuitions I've had, that by looking at the other things out there, I have managed to crystallize, and now I kind of know why I'm doing stuff. So I think what I'm thinking is, I would like a version of my let's have a look. So I was thinking, where's my freeform window? Let's find this. This should be sharing. Are we sharing our freeform window? Let's try. Okay, so we should have our freeform window. You should see this. So I would quite like a version of the editor that looks, I mean, this is probably going a bit far, because I think that, having talked to John as well, I think there is some value to having the card-based system, so that you can drag the cards around. If you're doing like video sequences and stuff, then this is a slightly different thing, because I'm thinking about, I would like this to feel more like a continuous document. I would like to be able to drag images inline, and then they're the ones that appear, to the side, and then my kind of media and my triggers are sort of pinned to the cards, and I have a drop zone that I can put those in, and then my code is sort of like highlighted in there. So this is what I've been thinking about, and it does mean then, we've got, if I did do an editor like that, where I have, like, here's the card editor, here's the preview, that's a different shape. The current app is not that shape. So instead of, but actually I think it would be quite good to have the main window be that video preview window instead of each document window, which I'm finding quite awkward, because you don't actually need to have a document to have the video preview, and it's a bit weird to have to go and create a new document to see what you're putting out. So I think, like, I want to put the video preview and the dashboard up in the main window, and then have this document window a bit more dedicated to, like, the card editing and the previews. And I've made some good progress on this. So I can show you, if we just go to desktop, I will. So the good thing about this is, this time, once I adjust my desktop, I'm not going to have to keep adjusting it every time I share it. So if I just make a quick new CueCam doc, it's, the future of it is going to be a bit more like this. So this is my card, and then as soon as I put like a title in, we're going to get that live preview. And as soon as I put a bullet in, and then I'll sort of add my cards, and then I'm sort of like, this is still work in progress, but as I select them, we can see the different things, and then we have this, a bit more of some richer templates in here, probably. And to start off with, I just wanted to see how that felt, and then we've got our navigation bar, we've got our, our video monitoring here. The thing that's, let's see if we can make this happen. It's and then, like, with a little, I wanted to show you the little editor that's going to come in, but this is still kind of work in progress. We're working on it, we're figuring it out. But as part of this, I did spend the weekend deep diving into some sort of gnarly Apple frameworks to try and really understand how text rendering works, because it's really complicated working with text. But this is sort of like, this is kind of what that looks like. This is sort of me trying out a few different things just to make sure I know how to do them. So I can create this is a sort of big text field now, instead of like a list of cards. This is just something I'm playing with. CueCam is still going to basically look the same, but it's just going to be a bit more obvious how it works. But this was me kind of fiddling around. So what was I trying to figure out? So one thing was just having a control like this. Hey Jeff. A control like this that just can be sort of embedded in the text field. So this is a Swift UI control with a little pop-up, that can be embedded in the text field, and that works. So I figured out how to do that, and it's all, you have to sort of make a attributed string, like, what is it, slide attachment provider with a view, and then like attach tracks text attach, and then I can make a little Swift UI view, and then I can like do some stuff, and then I can kind of like put that in. The other thing I wanted to figure out was this kind of like real-time syntax highlighting. So Apple has this TextKit 2 framework, and you can get like a paragraph of text, and you can kind of look at the content of that text and make sure. So I found this is, if it sees a hash, will that do something? So I was trying to make sure I could find a performant way of doing that. I did find an open source project which was doing a lot of this, and to start off with, I tried to use that, and then I realized that I did not. It was good for understanding how it all works, but I just sort of needed a couple of bits of it, and not like the kitchen sink. Another thing I wanted to make sure I could do was to be able to, like, can I drag in an image? And so I figured out how to, I can get the URL, I can display it. And this is something I see as being quite cool for having that distinction between the large background images and the sort of inline content, and then potentially having like multiple images on one slide and things like that, and having the flow of the text like govern the the content of the slide, because at the moment, like, you put a title and that goes underneath, right? At the moment, you put your title in, you put an image in, you put a title, the title goes under the image, the bullets go under that. But why not just let you put things in order, and then if you put the title first, that goes above the image, and then the image, and then the bullets underneath. You have more control over it, and then, you know, depending on, and some more enhanced layouts where I can do some more stuff around. You know, sometimes I think it would be quite cool. Stream to YouTube just 720p. Yeah, like I got distracted by chat. Sorry. So that means maybe this is quite hard to see on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe my internet. Apparently, I'm 720p on YouTube. Let me see. It's. I think. Yeah, 720p. Why is it doing 720p? Use high quality video mode. I'm going to try clicking on that and just see if that will. Oh yeah, it's actually selected. I've actually got 720p selected. Jeez. Okay. We can try and come out and come back with a better stream quality potentially. Yeah, you see the gist of the screen capture. Oh God. Shall we just shall we see if I sort of pause? If I like I'm gonna leave it. We're gonna be 720p. Sorry everyone, but I'll just kind of bear that in mind when I'm showing stuff, shall I? So that it's, you know, it's fine. Okay. So yeah, the other thing. Yeah. So this is some stuff. There's tech to figure out. But I wanted to be thinking about the design of it. I would quite like a document, like just a clean document without all the cards, but I think that's maybe for the future. But in the meantime, I've made some progress on getting a nice snappy editor that has a bit of syntax highlighting, shows you the previews. And then once I can get that kind of feeling solid and working properly, then I can make the templates a little bit more enhanced and kind of make it feel a bit more like what you're getting when you select templates in Keynote. So I'm feeling good about it. There's a lot to think about. It's a lot of work, but yeah, that's where we're up to with that. I think editing the source, sort of editing this sort of markdown type code in a way that it's going to help you out a lot more. Like there'll be a button, add a title, and you just start typing. But instead of like focusing you on a text box, it's just going to like put you into the right bit of the text and you just start typing. It's the same thing. And I've tried it out and it seems pretty intuitive for people. And then, yeah, once we can kind of get that feeling really rock solid, really like clean and easy to understand, then I can sort of like enhance those templates a bit, because I've been seeing, I'd quite like, because at the moment you get an image and then you get the text, but I'd quite like to be able to go, oh, sometimes I want, you know, a background behind my text and then the text on top of that, or sometimes I want my image to be like have the text overlaid on top of it on a background instead of sort of underneath it. So just sort of layouts that are a bit more smart and give you a little bit more control. That's some stuff that I want to move it towards while sort of keeping the same underlying principle, and also realizing that I'm not trying to make like WYSIWYG click on text fields here. I think it's cool to have that code and speaker notes kind of like intermingled, so that on the teleprompter I can see everything, but then what's coming through to the presentation is sort of like still part of that, and I'm not having to type things twice, and I'm not having to sort of like do those things. And I think once the previews are there, it's going to feel really intuitive and it's going to feel really nice. So it was really useful going through everything last week, and it's made me realize what I want this to be. And it is different, but I think it's going to be great. And we're sort of taking a lot of the learnings from the world of software development here to make it really good. Because as a programmer, I would never be working without live previews, and I'm making you work without live previews at the moment, and that's not great. Well, you know, you can find a way to do it, but I need to make that better. Okay, let's talk about this this title sequence. So first up, I was going to say, like, I have used a ton of expensive software for that title sequence for what it's worth. So, like, I'm sorry if you don't have access to that sort of thing. It's like over the years, I have got myself Final Cut Pro. I've got myself Apple Motion. I've got myself like Ableton Live. I've got myself like loads of audio plugins, but I was just going to kind of like show you some of those things, and this is just to see if it sparks any ideas and makes it sort of like makes this kind of world feel a bit more approachable, because you know, so let's have a look. So if I share my Ableton window, if that exists. I'll tell you what, like this center stage really does mess with the screen sharing sometimes. So I've got to find my Ableton window so that it shows up as an option. Where is it? Oh, it's spinning. It's being weird. Okay, Ableton has crashed. So we're going to bring it, we're going to try relaunching Ableton and see what happens there. I did have all these running. How's this? Am I sounding okay? Okay, thanks, John. It's great having someone to tell me when things go weird. Yeah, Jeff says, yeah, like Apple Motion is pretty cheap. That's true. That is one thing that is pretty cheap, but it's everything else is like kind of adds up. I think this is because Ableton is kind of messing with everything. So I'll hopefully we can pull this off. I'm hoping that I can kind of wing this a little bit because of how my screen sharing stuff works, but we will see, won't we? Like, I'm getting a bit of a spinner on Ableton at the moment, so I'm just kind of waiting to see if this is going to resolve itself or if I need to do something. But so I'll just sort of talk about some of the things I wanted to do. Something I really wanted to be able to do is create the visuals for something at the same time as I create the music. And I don't think there's a great tool for that. Like, I want something like Ableton where I've got all my music plugins and sample accurate timing and sort of like bar markers, but also to be able to bring in some visuals. And that doesn't seem to exist. And I tried fiddling around with like Max for Live and things like that. You can get these tools that let you kind of do sort of VJing type stuff, and I had a fiddle with that to see if I could make that useful. But it was pretty painful. And then one thing I did was, hey John from Monterey, look, this is just spinning, isn't it? Like, do I need to? Is it because I've set? Should I not recover my work? Should we try not recovering my work and see what happens then? Come on, Ableton. We're going to keep trying. Let's get rid of this. But while we're trying to, okay. Yeah, this is so basically Ableton is doing something weird, isn't it, to the thing. So if we come to, oh shit, have I just gone into, let's just make sure I am, okay. Hopefully my audio is okay again. And what I want to do is try to see if I can get audio out of Ableton. See if I can load in. So first what I'm going to try and do is share the Ableton window rather than sharing the so that we can get the audio. So with CueCam you have to share the app rather than the desktop to get the audio, because otherwise it would be all your audio. So if I try again, see if I can load this. Okay, let me know if it goes weird. It has been taking a long time to load. Okay, it's loaded the thing, but it does tend to sort of spin out a bit. So let's just give it a few seconds. Is it gonna work? It's just, oh, hello, is my audio okay? Yeah, okay, cool. Right, it loaded. Oh no, it didn't load. It didn't load. Oh man, I just want to show you this project. But it might just be easier to start a new project and show you what I did. Should we do that? But the trouble is, if I force quit Ableton, I'm going to end up with sound problems again, I think. What I'm going to do is force quit Ableton. Let me know if I've got audio problems. Do I have audio problems? Okay. I don't. Right. Okay. I think I know. I think we're going to get this. I think we're going to get this time. So basically, Ableton tends to hijack the system audio. Music software tends to be not the best behaved. But like, if we can come down to here, just make sure I'm on a thing, and then we're going to share apps. Ableton. So all I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you. Hopefully kind of how I have approached this, and I will rely on my audience to tell me if things are going wrong. So Ableton Live is music software, and you get your grid. So I have always liked Propeller Head Reason. So I finally kind of shelled out for the live rack plugin. So that lets me bring up stuff like this, and we can have Kong Drum Designer, and we can go. Are we hearing this? Okay, I'm not hearing it though. That's the problem. But what I can do is maybe I'll switch to the wired headphones, and then I'll be able to hear on this side what's going on. So, okay, let's have a look. So we go. So it's pretty easy to put a loop together. So, sorry, let me just make sure that R is mapped to that. We want maybe a bit of a metronome for that. Yeah, my most amazing beat ever. So we can, I'm doing it on the computer keyboard, but we can just like, it's weird because when you're sharing a window on Mac OS, it's like it changes the buttons. But yeah, yeah, we can sort of like see what that feels like. Let's just fold that, and so that's what a drum look, and then I quite like Reason because I can have I can take this and I can sort of add another device. I can go, okay, give me a scream for distortion, and we can sort of do stuff like that. If I loop, And then another plugin that I've really been liking is this one, Random. So I think with no, that's not Random. It's called Random. Where is it? Random. I really like this plugin where you kind of go. So like you get like some kind of crazy stuff in music plugins, and I would usually say, sorry, I think that's really loud, isn't it? That's coming through really loud. So let me just kind of attenuate that a little bit. And so, you know, and things like this, sometimes you might want to sort of like record it onto another track. So I'm going to take my random output, I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to hit record, and then I'm just going to kind of... You've got like instead of like having to deal with MIDI, you've just got a nice kind of audio file there that you can sort of pick the best bits from. So that's kind of, you know, that's the basic approach to, you know, putting some music together. And really, like, there's so many just great plugins that you can play with that I always find I'm most creative when I just got a new thing. And this is the sad thing about music production. It's expensive because you're buying all these bits and bobs, and then the first time you use them, you have a great time, and then you start to realize the limitations of them. You start to realize what they can do, and you kind of go, okay. And actually, often it was the best things you got out of it was when you first got it. But you know, you're sort of filling in. Okay, I like this one because it gives me a sort of like atonal sort of like variation that's quite hard to get with normal synths. But you know, if I just want a bass line, I'll just go to one of the built-in I'll look at spinning. I'll just go to the built-in like instruments, and I'll just take an analog synth, and I'll just kind of drag that down. Let's just take the whole analog module, and then that's good, and then we can like fiddle with that. And you know, kind of like putting things together like that. You know, so I'm with this intro, I'm trying to keep it sort of relatively simple, but I was thinking I'd really like to be able to see what it's going to look like while I'm doing this. So I actually spent I downloaded the OSC. It's called OSC. The connection kit for Ableton. So I sort of created a channel on here where I was sending OSC messages, and I was making sort of like different notes for different cards, and then I added into CueCam the ability to it's got a OSC server now. So if you send OSC messages to 49999, it's going to jump to the card that of the MIDI note number. And so I was playing with that, and then I realized I was just sticking video clips onto the different cards, and then in a really loose and like imprecise way triggering them. And like Ableton lets you just drag videos in. So I just sort of went through a lot of my old videos, and I like grabbed out some little clips from them. So here's like, you know, me annotating one thing. Here's like Shoot playing with the focus controls, and the way I did that was, you know, I just have all of the kind of videos I've made for my channel on my machine, and you just like double click on it in QuickTime. That's going to open in not QuickTime, okay, and then you just like trim it out in QuickTime, and you can sort of get the bit that you want, and then just save that out. And I have my little clips folder, and then you can just sort of grab those clips and drag them into Ableton. Oops, but not into a MIDI channel. So if I just drag a clip into Ableton, I can get and I'm going to go back to sharing Ableton so we get sound. Ableton actually supports video, and I was actually one of the first people back like years ago to kind of do stuff with Ableton's video support. Back before they made it so you could actually export the video, I made this music video that was very silly, but I just had to film the screen with my, like my camera. But now you can actually sort of sequence up video clips. But you see now, unlike something like Motion or Final Cut, I've got the music grid here, and I can take this. So first I'll take that clip, I'll mute it, but I can also warp this clip and just like make it last the duration. Wait, I can retime it. Wait, so that it fits, one bar. And the previewing is a bit janky on Ableton, so sort of you don't take. So if I want to take like one thing and then I want to do a cut like 2 bars later, I can just what should we take? Like the video pencil ident, kind of grab that, and then some of these have got a bit of sound on them, so I might let some of the sound through on some of them. Yeah, so we can sort of instantly start editing on the beat. And just all within Ableton, and sort of be modifying the music as we go along. And this is actually a pretty good workflow, I find. And then it sort of all depends how you generate these little clips, really. So I've got like my live action from screen recordings and things, but I've also got stuff like this. This was actually done in Blender. Which I won't go into today, but once I've got the clip, I can just kind of put that wherever and sort of like crop it out. Or something I will show you. So there's the intro, the start of where is it? The start of the CueCam thing. Where is the CueCam video? Well, let's just find it. Let's find the, I think, did I save the output here? Squares TV app intro. So if I grab this, so I did this. So this, I mean, this is a, I won't go into how I did, but this little clip here. This was done in, I wanted a sort of like a crowd, an audience type thing. But what I ended up doing was, I just went onto Sketchfab. So, and I found this, this sort of 3D scene of a little audience. And then you can actually sort of like tinker with these. So I just kind of said, I just want the, the silhouette. And then I just like screen recorded a little transition there. And then brought that into Apple Motion and turned that into that, sort of layered it up with that. So, I didn't pay for any assets, but I sort of didn't have to do much to get that little pan there. And so if we do find Apple Motion, I'll show you, like Motion I much prefer to because I have used After Effects a lot, but I prefer Apple Motion because it tends to be a lot more real time than After Effects. But you can also sort of like create. You don't have to do everything by hand animating timelines. You can sometimes sort of create automations and connections between clips and sort of so that gives you a bit more flexibility in laying things out. So if I kind of pull up something from, let's find it. This is all called Cucumber because is it this one? Because it's CueCam sounds like cucumber. So let's have a look. Is this going to load? Where is it? Is it happening? Okay. Is it crashing? Is it loading? Where is it? Okay. Continue. So it couldn't find some of the media. So this is sort of an Apple Motion project. So what I'll do here is this is sort of annoying when let's fit please. right. You see all these markers along the top. That's me kind of taking the beat and just like marking it along and sort of trying to do it all in motion. But what I didn't like about this was not being able to change, like you're sort of stuck with the music, and I'd rather make the elements and not be stuck with the music. So but you can see here, where is it? Here's that transition. You can see we've got these layers here. Oh god, it's so janky sometimes. It is kind of a janky app, Apple Motion, sometimes. Like the zooming can be weird, and why is that being weird? But you see I've got like my, it ends up being a bit of a bulky timeline, but you can see I've got my kind of layers, like my little sort of CueCam. I actually put in an audio meter down there, like a fake audio. I hope you can see some of this on I guess on the 720p. A lot of this is not going to be coming through. But yeah, we've got the sort of different layers in there, and I've got my little audience layer, and I'm just kind of like layering them all up and sort of like I'm marking them on like that. But I kind of like found I quickly painted myself into a corner working like that. So I ended up actually sort of taking sort of a render of the plain stuff and just like bringing it and sequencing it, just instead of having to sort of mark out the beats in motion, just like you can just sort of drag them in here, and sort of it feels a lot more freer, and you can then go back and change the music if there's a transition. So what I'd like to and then sort of add in a little bit of extra sound if something's happening on the screen. And so I sort of did most of the video clip sequencing in Ableton, and then the final stage is sort of like render that out and bring it into Final Cut, which now, you see I'll share the Final Cut window properly so that we get a sound. Where is it? Apps, Final Cut. So if I share the Final Cut window, when the edits were a bit janky, I can sort of like tidy them up, and then I just you get these little transition effects. I think like sort of this kind of these sort of like chromatic aberration transitions are on brand. So I've sort of is the audio loud? Let me just check. I think it's probably really loud. Oh no, it should be all right. So yeah, I've just sort of like tidied it up, added some transitions, sort of added a little bit of life to some of the more dry parts, like a little kind of zoom in and stuff like that. And then like for the text, I mean I don't love these these titles, but if the nice thing about Final Cut as well is if you do want a title that looks a certain way, you can go away and sort of actually create like a little, you can go into into Motion, you can say I want a new Final Cut title. You can put together a thing with like a drop zone for you can put together a thing with a drop zone for an icon and some text, and sort of publish out the different, like publish out the layout things, and then you can bring that into that will now be sort of editable in Final Cut, and you can sort of change the text in it and move things around. And then if you did want to kind of make it a bit more elaborate, you could add animation to that. And so I do have a lot of my own. I like the Final Cut Motion combo because you end up sort of building up a little library of titles and generators. So I have like my, there's my app name and icon. There's sort of full screen graphics. There's sort of lower thirds and things. I've got this one that I use a lot, which has a little transition, which you sort of see popping up. Sorry, I'm trying to preview it. Yeah, so that sort of pops in and pops out. Or I have like a big one. And so these are all just like, they're so quick to make and then this is a title thing that I've sort of created. And so here is at the end, I just wanted to have a good ending. So then you just kind of layer a few things up. So here, I've layered up this, I've got that title thing where it kind of does the, does that little transition wipe. And then I brought in some text. and then sort of brought that in with a transition, so it sort of like feels like that settles into place. And then I thought I'd have a cute little, let's just make sure that you're hearing audio when I show you this. You know, I should be instead of doing this all the time, I should use except I've got so many apps running that let's quit Figma, so that we can get this and make sure that we are sharing the Final Cut app. And then sound design is all about layering, and all I do is I get Soundly is this really great tool. So if you just do want to do something cool, like Soundly is this app that's got a free tier, which I will just share Soundly now. Oh no, I guess I'll share. Well, I'll share Soundly so that you can see what you get. So I'll go like, I want like electronic or like static, say, right? I can type that in. I'll get some stuff like communication static. So maybe I like that, and I can just if I just switch to the desktop share so that you can see the transition, I can literally drag that into Final Cut, and there it is. And so I can sort of really quickly put together a bit of sound design. And you can use the free ones, or you can kind of pay a bit more for the, they have got a bigger library if you pay. And sometimes I have a subscription when there are specific things I want, but sometimes you just, it's all about layering things. You put an eagle sound, put a toilet flushing, I don't know, like you can put whatever on there, and if you just layer them up, then it sort of turns into sound design. So this is it's not the world's most sophisticated thing, but like you can see the kind of like the set of tools and how that can quickly get you to, especially if you've got a bit of a library of content. And what I like about this is that I have been making these videos for ages, but I wanted a bit of a sizzle reel with all the best of all the different apps just to set the tone of what we're doing. Because I think when you come to something you do have to have a bit of an idea of what you're trying to achieve with it. You can't just like throw stuff at the wall and hope that it works. You sort of have to, and what I was trying to achieve was to have like something that kind of tells you what these labs are about, and sort of shows you all the different apps, shows you a few different features, and can get you kind of thinking, oh, what was that? How did that work? How did you do that? So I'll play it through one more time, and then just so you can kind of see it all, kind of how it kind of ended up looking in the end. I suppose I could like comment on this. So it's like got a shoot section, it's got a video pencil section, and then it's got a CueCam presenter section. So it kind of goes plugging the phone. I've sort of labelled Shoot Pro webcam. Should I bring my picture-in-picture? Might as well. And some of it's really sped up footage. And then I sort of wanted to show you loads of different angles, but here you'll hear there's a little bit of music happening as these icons are appearing, and that's not by accident. You kind of like sometimes just having a little bit of sound makes a really crude animation just kind of feel like it works better. And then just kind of like lock everything to the beat. Sometimes it lines up by accident, and that's okay. And just have an ending, spend some time on okay, and I've got it. And then the way that's integrated into CueCam, just to sort of bring this all home, if I can come in, let's just share the desktop. If you see, this is my CueCam project. So what I did was, as well as creating the video clip, I also rendered out a couple of sort of beats that I could have before and after. So I've got like I've got a little bit of music on this card. That music is stopped when this is playing, and then I have another little bit of music that starts on this card that's a bit shorter. So this kind of goes So just sort of we continue the vibes for a few more seconds when we come out of that title sequence. And so you're kind of thinking about, when is my music going to be playing, when's my video going to be playing, and then just think about endings. Just make sure that it's got an ending. So the music has an ending here. Yeah, so just to sort of make sure it all kind of comes together. And I think, yeah, like it's honestly it's not rocket science, and it's only like a day's work at the end of the, well, maybe half a day's work altogether, or a day. That's not counting all of the time that's gone into making the components of it. But yeah, I think Ableton's great if you want to, for the unprocessed clips, and then if you bring it into Final Cut, you can sort of add some effects to it to make it feel a bit more dynamic. But and the only thing I wanted to do with the only reason I wanted to do it with CueCam was to be able to add titles, and just to be able to add like placeholder images and stuff on certain cards, and sort of think about it a bit more. And that's something that is possible. Like, but I wish I could load that project without risking my audio. But yeah, like to show you how I did have it so that I was triggering like card number 4 on this beat, card number 6 on this beat, and then you can sort of put things on the cards, and sort of you can sort of have a think about it that way. And it also means like you can drag that card number 4 somewhere else in the timeline, and that can now be out of order, but you still know you don't have to like reorder. You can decide how you want to do it, really. You can either sort of order try and keep the cards in order and change the numbers, or you can like move the numbers about and just keep the cards in the same order. So yeah, so that's some stuff that is possible, and just something I thought I'd talk about because I planned this session quite late. Anyway, listen, that's me for this week. That's lab number 58. I hope everybody found something useful, had some ideas that came out of that. I hope you got some ideas. Because the other thing that John During's always doing is like, once we start AI generating these little clips as well, I think that's really cool. Like, we can start kind of putting in placeholders, and sometimes you want something specific, but sometimes, you know, it's fun. This is a fun way. You can either do it in CueCam, sort of sequence up your things, or you can actually drag them into Ableton Live and kind of sequence them up that way and kind of see how it feels. And then even if that's not the final thing, you know, like it helps you. I love it because I can make the music and the visuals in tandem, because that for me, like, those two things should be together, and I don't see a good tool for that. And I keep going, maybe I should make a tool for that, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. But like, if I can make CueCam kind of support a workflow like that, I think that's really good. And then, you know, maybe CueCam gets a bit more sample accurate, maybe CueCam gets more effects, maybe CueCam, you know, I don't know, probably not, but maybe. But yeah, we've got Easy VJ as well, so I've got a lot of tech in there that maybe I kind of port over, or maybe Easy VJ becomes the tool. Yeah. At the moment, I am still trying to make sure that when you click in a box, issues I have, there's a text field in this box. When I click to start editing it, I want some controls to appear above it. But because of the way the rendering works, it's clipped there, so that is invisible. Oh no. Oh, that was interesting. That erased. So yeah, because of the way this list works, anything that comes from this card that is outside the bounds gets clipped, which isn't always the case with macOS. So I just spent 3 hours trying to figure out how to make my little controls line up and coming up with all these workarounds. So I shouldn't get carried away with new features, because the tiniest of bits of functionality can end up taking a lot of effort. And this is what we don't hear. Hey, squares.tv/discord is where you can find me, hang out, get help when I'm asleep, and also like report issues and make feature suggestions. And I'm really tracking them now. I'm really sort of staying on top of that a bit more now. But you know, sometimes a big project, sometimes a big feature, sometimes a big change ends up monopolizing my time in a bit, and that's kind of happened with this new editor a little bit again. But I have been trying to make time to do those little fixes that people ask for as well. So just, hey, look, my screen share stayed where I put it. Every time I come back to it, it hasn't reset back to a different frame. That's nice, isn't it? All those kinds of things. So yeah, to play us out is Graham Dunning's remix of my song Computer Screen, using mechanical techno, and this is kind of incredible. I worked on this video with it. Well, like, we did this video took me a long time to put together because I didn't get great footage. I didn't get I didn't really plan it out, and then ended up having to do a lot of random stuff to make this 9-minute music video kind of like stay interesting when it's kind of minimal techno. So this is on my YouTube channel. Here's a snippet of it. This is incredible what Graham does. And then what we were trying to do with this was sort of like show what's going on, how it works. So I will play that, and thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate it. I know it's not cheap. And I'll see you next time. Can I play it once straight through? Was that just now, Jeff? Did you say? Oh, the video I think you were talking about. Okay, sorry, I missed that comment. All right, well, let's to play us out, Graham Dunning's incredible mechanical techno.